Hey everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I hope that you have had a wonderful and amazing week. For those of you who tune in every single Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. Welcome on back. Thanks so much for joining here again today. For those of you who are brand new to Mental Health Moment, welcome, welcome. It's Dr. Hammond here. We are here live every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. And for those of you who are watching the replay on Dr. Nekeshia Hammond YouTube page, be sure to like this page, share this video, and subscribe to the page. So, hey, you all, thanks so much for joining here. Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Let me know where you're tuning in from today in the chat. Today, I'm in I reside in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, where I'm at today, and in some warm sunshine, y'all. You know I love my sunshine. And not in the snow. Snow is just for visiting for me. But it's all good. Happy to be in the warm sunshine. But again, thanks so much for joining here. Let me know in the chat where you might be tuning in from today, what part of the country or what part of the world that you're tuning in from today. And before I start today's mental health moment, I want to give you a couple of quick announcements here. First, New York City's in the house. Welcome. First, next month, which is crazy, it's like rapidly approaching. In May, Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm going to share with you all a couple of really cool things coming up here. That's the announcement. Still finalizing a couple of things, but probably the next week or two. Yeah. The next mental health moment, or for sure the mental health moment after that, I'll be sharing some pretty cool stuff for the month of mental health awareness month, which is May. So be on the lookout for that. Also, if you all are in, well, for this year coming up here, whenever I do have speaking engagements, like I always tell you, if you're new to Mental Health Moment, which are open to the public, I will definitely be letting you all know. A lot of them are actually private events, so I'm so sorry. Sometimes I just cannot invite you all to that, but if it is open to the public, of course, I'll be sharing that information with you as well. I feel like there's another announcement. Dang, what was my other announcement for you all? If I think of it during the live, I'll let you all know. um, but nonetheless, thanks for joining here. Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Again, let me know where you're tuning in from today in the chat. Hopefully, I will be able to see the chat. I see a little bit of the chat, but I never know when the comments will start to come in here on the technology side. But if you are new to Mental Health Moment is all about how do you work on becoming the best version of who you are so you can show up powerfully for yourself and those around you. So again, we're here live every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. All right. So I think those are all my announcements. So today what I want to talk to you all about is there's a lot happening in the world like there usually is, right? There's a lot happening and we're all at different seasons. We've been talking a lot, I feel like on Mental Health Moment about self-awareness, right? Which is really important, checking in with yourself, understanding where you're at and what season of your life you're in, right? You may be in the happiest season of your life. You may be in the hardest season of your life. You may be somewhere in the middle, right? Like all of it is what it is. It's a part of life, but making sure that you're checking in with yourself, making sure that you understand for you what season you're in, and then that way you can kind of respond appropriately for you, what works best for you, right? Emotionally and physically and spiritually and mentally. So today's mental health moment, I'm going to share with you a couple of tips on how do you keep this sense of hope during the difficult times. So maybe you're in some type of difficult season, but how do you still cling to hope? Because it is so important to work on this is what I always talk about, you all, which you all know, mindset training. I wrote books on it, a whole series on it, right? Because it is so critically important for you to make sure that you're getting into the mindset of having hope, getting into the mindset where you're working on your mental resilience. Life will throw all sorts of curveballs towards you, as you may know. Right? Like that's just, we all have different things that we're juggling. Life sometimes a lot of different things happen, but how do you cling to that hope though still through even the difficult times? So that's what we're talking about today. Welcome, San Antonio, Texas is in the house. I said Military City, USA. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. Again, Dr. Hammond, if you're just tuning in, it's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Today we're going to talk about different ways that you can continue to have hope even during the difficult times, because it's really easy. I don't know about you all, but it's really easy to think positive when things are going great and things are going amazing and you can't wait for the next day and things are, very sunny and all the sunshine in your life. Like it's real easy to have great days and have hope, right? And believe in positive things are going to happen. But again, when things just happen in your life and you really get into maybe a darker season or a more difficult time, it's still important to have that positivity, have that hope. All right. Hi from California. Welcome back. Crazy. I clicked on this today. I needed to hear this. Well, you know what? You're in the right place. Charlotte, North Carolina's in the house. Love it, love it. California, another person from California is in the house. California's popular today. Thanks again so much for joining here. Okay, so the tips. All right, so the first thing is that um the first thing is really to think about again, whatever space you're in, if you're in a hard season right now especially, to really work on thinking of just the next moment, because a lot of times our brains want to go to something in the mental health field called catastrophizing, which means you think of the worst possibility, the worst scenario. What if, you know the world ends? What if your personal world ends? Like, we sometimes, especially with anxiety, we tend to just think of these worst scenarios, or we're thinking about something that's going to happen 3, 6, 9 months down the road. Like you right, like we're way into the future, and often thinking about things that are likely never or never even going to happen. Right. So instead of being in that mindset, you work on thinking of having the hope for just the next moment. And the next moment for you might literally mean like the next day. Or it might just mean like it's in the morning, you're like, let me just try to get to lunchtime. Let me just try to get to the afternoon, right? Again, it really depends on what season you're in, but some of us are dealing with difficult things, right? So instead of like worrying about what's gonna happen next month, the next year, it's like, okay, let's concentrate on like, let's just get through the day, right? Or let's get through the week. And sometimes you have to shift your mindset to work on that and celebrating. I always say, you all, that's my theme, like celebrate the small steps too. So if life is lifing and things are hard, whatever it is you're going through, or mentally or emotionally or physically or spiritually, also celebrating the fact that maybe you got through the day and you ate well, or maybe you slept well, or maybe you took a shower, or maybe like these things seem very simple, but when you're going through really hard and difficult things, those small things that we take for granted becomes harder to do sometimes. So if you're in that boat, again, give yourself credit, give yourself grace, celebrate yourself for taking those baby steps, the things that we normally take for granted, right? And thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. And again, if you're just tuning in, let me know where you're tuning in from today in the chat. But today we're talking about different ideas, different tips on how you can work on having hope even through the difficult moments, right? Um, so so sometimes it might be just getting out of bed. Like that might be your celebration for the day, or maybe you did something amazing. Maybe you took a leap. Maybe you did a ton of work. Like, whatever, there's a spectrum here, right? When it comes to like thinking about that next moment for you. But again, making sure that you cling to that hope and that you are celebrating yourself even for the small things, because we always try to celebrate the biggest things. I It's just so weird to me, like we rely on this physical, calendar sometimes to be like, we will celebrate on, actually today's one of my good friends' birthdays. It's like here's a birthday, or here's a holiday, or here's, this particular day. It's like that's when we have to celebrate, when it's like, no, 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 no. You find time for you to have celebrations too, of even the smallest thing, right? Because you're working on shifting your mindset. Hi from Virginia. Welcome. Dylan, South Carolina's in the house. Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. Um, and the other thing about trying to think about being in the present moment, or thinking about the next moment, is that you're literally just focusing on what is my next step, right? Because sometimes we want to see the whole entire road, right? Like you're trying to look at like multiple years of your life out, like what is going to happen here, what's going to happen here, what's going to happen next month and the month after that, and it's like, well, hold up. Like, let's just focus sometimes on like what is your next step in this journey, right? Especially when you know that you need to be taking care of yourself because of whatever it is that you're currently going through. And if you're going through a dark season, right? It's really important to just take it one step at a time. We've heard that before. It's very cliche, but it really is important from an emotional and mental standpoint and physical standpoint to think about. Sometimes maybe you need a pause. We always talk about the pause, and reset and think about, how do I just take the next step and then celebrate that. Very important. Hi from Missouri's in the house. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Okay, so my second tip of the day. So thanks for those who are still trying to join here. If you're just, by the way, if you're just tuning in, you all can always check out the replays of Mental Health Moment on Dr. Nekeshia Hammond YouTube page. So you can go to the page, like the page, subscribe. And you can always watch all the replays. If you're like, oh no, I tuned in late and it's already like tip number 2, and you're like, what was tip number 1? Or you just miss a week, you can always go and watch all the replays on YouTube. But the second tip I want to share with you today, and this one's kind of fun. I kind of like this one. I do this very often. Sometimes we're talking today, if you're just tuning in, we're talking today about how to have hope, how to still cling to hope, even in the dark, hard times of your life. Um, and sometimes it's really easier said than done, right? Because it's easy for us to get into a mental pity party, or it's easy for us to sort of spiral mentally sometimes and emotionally sometimes, because life is heavy sometimes. It's hard. I trust me, I get it. But the second tip I want to remind you of today is you can also sort of borrow hope from others, or other sources. And what I mean by that is, if you are inspired, hopefully you are. If you're inspired by someone in your life, it could be someone you know, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be someone you don't know, it could be someone on social media, or whomever it is. Like, if you're inspired by them, right? If you feel that you're sort of motivated by seeing their level of hope, you sort of like watch them, like whether it's a podcast, whether it's, again, maybe it's your family member, your friend, or someone around you, but make sure you're watching that too, because that energy, positive energy, does rub off. It is contagious, right? So if you're even kind of paying attention, like, wow, I really admire how much hope that person has, I really admire how much resilience that person has, that's a good thing. You can borrow that right, while you're working on your own mental health and wellness and resilience, and having your own hope, which sometimes it's hard to do. Then sort of borrow it, if you will, from other people. And the other way you can do, sort of borrowing hope, is, again, it can be from others or it can be from yourself. So when you really stop to pause and think about um, a situation that you've been through that you didn't think you would get through, but you did, you can remind yourself of that version of yourself that got through, right? Like, when you really think about, like, man, I never thought I'd get through, fill in the blank for you. I never thought I'd get through this situation, and you did. Like, you made it through. You did get through. You did. It might not have been pretty, but you did get through. You did have the resilience at the time. You did have the whatever it was for you, if it was the faith, or you had your own willpower, or a combination of things, but you got through that. So you remember that when you're in this new adversity lesson, or whatever it is that you may be dealing with. If, again, today we're talking about, if you're in any sort of difficult situation, then you think about, okay, remember that past version of yourself who got through. Like, so you do have the ability to, it's just a matter of tapping into that which again, it is hard sometimes, but we have to also remember how strong we are. You are you are so much stronger than you know. I have met thousands and thousands of people, you all, throughout my travels, when I speak to different corporations and organizations, when I've in the clinical work I've done, like all these things. I've met so many people, and I will promise you that you are stronger than you even know sometimes. But sometimes you don't give yourself enough credit. Right? You it's like we forget sometimes, like, we go through some stuff, right? But then we forget who we are. And so it's really important, again, when you're in this particular season and you look back and you're like, "You know what? I cannot believe I got through this particular situation," right? Because you did, right? But we have to remind ourselves of that. Um Someone said, "Thank you for this mental health moment. You're welcome. I tuned in just in time. A beloved relative is in the ICU, intubated and sedated. Grateful I caught you in this moment during a challenging month. Grateful, thankful, and celebrating a life well lived, whatever the outcome. Happy Wednesday." Wonderful. For me, it's Tuesday, so you must be on the other side of the world, which is all good. So happy Wednesday to you, or happy Tuesday, depending on what part of the world you're tuning in from. And definitely. Just sending you a lot of grace, hopefully for yourself, and well wishes, because that's very difficult, right? Like having a relative in the ICU, like, I mean, there's just so many things, whether it's something in your own personal life, whether it's something with your friend, your family member, the work, like looking on social media of everything happening in the world, like it can be heavy, it can be a lot, right? But it's so I can't stress that enough. It's so important, you all, that you are checking in with yourself, that you're taking care of yourself, and you still find a way to cling to hope. Hope will get you through. Not just hope. That's one of the things. I have a whole like 300 things, but today we're talking about hope. There's a lot of things, I should say. There's a lot of things you can put in your mental wellness toolkit. Hope is one of them. Okay. So again, work on getting to that version of yourself that understands I'm allowed to have hope and maybe some fear in there, and maybe some concern for others, and right, like there could be a mixture of emotions. That's okay. But make sure hope is in there too. Right? Make sure you have hope. Someone said hi from Los Angeles. Welcome. There's a lot of people from California tonight. Hey, California people. Thank you for this moment. You're absolutely welcome. Thanks so much for joining. Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. So before I go to tip number 3, the other thing I want to say about sort of borrowing hope, if you will, is sometimes, and again, I'm not here to convert anybody to anything. I believe you can have your own spiritual beliefs, whatever that looks like or doesn't look like. But for some of you, that borrowing hope might be from a higher power, or might be from your faith or your purpose, or however that looks for you. That might be for you what you also need to cling to, because you're like, you know what? I'm so exhausted. I'm so drained. Let me cling to, again, this higher power, whatever it is that your spiritual beliefs may look like. That is also another way to sort of borrow hope, if you will, right? But it is important to have some level of hope. Some of us, I don't know about you all. Some of you I know, because you tune in on Mental Health Moment, you share your stories sometimes. Some of you have like some really like incredibly strong, high levels of hope, which is incredible, right? Some of you, just a little bit like it's sort of like the fear is really high, or whatever strong emotions. It's easy for us to get very clouded with all the things happening, and we forget to have that ounce of hope sometimes. Sometimes it's an ounce, sometimes it's a lot for some of you. But wherever you're at in your journey is all good. But make sure that one of your strategies, if you will, is to think about how can I get to a place where I still have hope, right? Very important. Okay, and the last tip for you all today, when it comes to having hope in difficult times, is to also, I would say, look for evidence, right? Look for evidence. There is still, no matter what, there is still goodness in the world, you all. Like, golly, I feel like sometimes when you see, you open up wherever it is you get news from, if it's social media, TV, radio, whatever it is, and it's like the world is ending tomorrow. Like if it can feel really dark, really heavy, However, also I want you to work on looking at the evidence that the world is good, right? So there are good people, many good people that exist in the world. Find those said people. If it's your family members, your friends, colleagues, coworkers, whomever that is, like allow good people because there are many to show you that there's evidence that you can still have hope. Like you don't there's still goodness in the world. There's still good people in the world. There's people doing amazing things to help people in this world. Okay, so though it's about what are you tuning into all the time? Are you also looking for evidence of goodness? Are you also looking for evidence that, you know what, maybe I can still have hope? Maybe there's hope for me, whatever it is I'm going through, or hope for someone else. If you have someone else in your life that's having a certain situation and there's hope for them too, right? Like there's always hope, there's always goodness, but you have to look for it. One of the things that I do personally, because it's a lot happening in the world. I do sort of stay in tune with some sort of news, not my local news. Sorry, local news. I have no idea what's going on unless it's a big story. But the global news or whatnot, I do tend to see that on social media, of course. But also, still in my feeds, I also have a lot of positivity, a lot of inspirational content. I love to see like good news stories and how people are helping people and how much kindness there is in the world. Like that is also what I'm tuned into as well. Right. So I encourage you to think about that, to think about finding that evidence to know like, okay, there's still goodness, there's still kind people, there's still hope for me. Like find that evidence, right? Because it's very easy. If you start relying on your thoughts, which lie to you, right? We lie to ourselves all the time. If you start relying only on your thoughts and your emotions, it's really hard to have hope sometimes, especially if you tend to sort of spiral in your thoughts. And, it's like I said, it's easy for us to get into like a little self pity party, no judgment. But I'm just saying it's easy for us to get there sometimes because of emotions, like depression and anxiety and all these sorts of things. They tell us things about ourselves that are not even true. And then we believe it, right? Because we are distorting what is happening around us because of strong emotions sometimes. So don't only rely on your emotions and don't only rely on your thoughts, which we lie to ourselves, but instead find the evidence around you so we can work on having that sense of hope, right? And it doesn't even have to be like grand gestures, right? I mean, there are. I love to see them actually. I love to watch stories. I love to watch stories of like all sorts of cool things and random acts of kindness and all those sorts of things, which are like bigger grand gestures, but it doesn't even have to be that, right? It can be even the smallest things that you notice around you, people being kind to you, the fact that hope does exist, right? The fact that you just as much as it's funny, I've been seeing this a lot on social media, but just as much as you think sometimes of like the worst case scenario, because our minds tend to do that, you also have the ability to think of the best case scenario and whatever it is that you're going through. And yes, we don't know actually what will happen unless you have a crystal ball and you're psychic. You don't always know what's going to happen. But imagine if you took the time, and this is not like, oh, we're just going to super positive think and not understand that there's a negative outcome that could happen. Not saying that, but instead of spending 100% of your time worrying and thinking about worst case scenario, let's spend a part of that time thinking, wait a minute, what if this works out? What if this particular situation that we stress about is actually for my highest good? What if this situation is a blessing in disguise? Like, what if you thought like that instead of the doom and the gloom? And this is the worst thing ever that happens, right? Like there's things that, and this, I know this has happened to many of you before. There's things that happen to us, right? Where we thought it was the end of the world. And then we find out it could be weeks, months, or years later. We look back and we're like, that was the best thing that ever happened to me, right? Like, because in that moment, we're in a state of maybe panic, anxiety, sadness, or whatever. And we tell ourselves a story. But then we look back and we're like, wait a minute. Actually, that was a blessing in disguise, right? So just know it is okay for you to also be thinking about what is a positive scenario out of this said darkness and the difficult times. Like that's a way of thinking also. Um, Someone said they're here from Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome. I really appreciate how you speak to mental health with so much compassion and clarity. I feel seen and encouraged. I love to hear that. I'm so glad that you're encouraged. That makes me so happy. Hi from Papua New Guinea. Welcome. I love the way you break things down without judgment. You know what? And I will say, you all, the reason why I always say this is the no judgment zone on mental health moment is because we do enough of that ourselves. I've heard a gazillion stories, and I will say guilty also of like just the strong inner critic. We're so self-critical. We're judging ourselves for all sorts of things that a lot of times we don't even need to be judging ourselves from for like to begin with, right? So this is the no judgment zone. So, and that's another thing. We're not talking about that today, but I'm going to talk about this, and someone brought that up. Is really to work on your level of judgment toward yourself and giving yourself more grace. Especially, I guess it does relate, especially as we talk about having hope, like forgiving yourself. There's certain things maybe you need to forgive yourself today for whatever it is, but working on that journey, you're allowed to heal. You're allowed to be happy. You're allowed to be emotionally healthy. You're allowed to have joy. Like you're allowed to have these things. But got to get in the mindset to have that, right? Find hope in every moment. I needed this. I love it. Yeah, that's like I really feel like it's such a mental shift. I know, I promise you, I know it's not always easy to get to that place. I know it can feel mentally hard to get to that place of hope when you're in a dark time, but when you learn and really integrate in your life having gratitude and hope even in the harder times, it makes living life really different. It's not perfect, but it's really different. It's a really different and I think kind of cool way to live, right? But again, it's working on and practicing it. Practicing getting to that mindset. I think many of you know who are not new to mental health moment many years ago. I don't even remember how many years ago now, but many years ago, I really start like I'm very intentional. I've like I said, it's been years that when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think about is what I'm grateful for. Like something that I'm grateful for. Right. Like it's a gratitude practice. That's how I start every single day. Instead of going to my phone, which I used to do, guilty. But I don't do that now. I take a little pause from the phone as soon as I wake up. So it's getting to the gratitude practice, reading my devotional, taking the deep breaths. But it's just really about getting into that mental space for you all and being intentional in that even through the harder times, right? Because it just it it does something different to you emotionally and physically and mentally and spiritually when you can get into that place. Um, and hi from Downey, California. Welcome. Positive thoughts create positive outlook. Absolutely. Absolutely. Someone said, I love the positive energy. Hi from everyone. Manchester, Connecticut's in the house. Welcome. It's important to be kind to yourself. Yes, it is very important to be kind to yourself. We did a whole mental health moment about that. I know I'm wrapping up today's mental health moment, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but it is somewhere on YouTube about especially about self-talk, especially about working on getting out of so much negative self-talk. You all, do you know you can literally sit with yourself, think about a ton of things that happened the same day, last year, childhood, or whatever, and just like you could just literally accidentally bring yourself all the way down, your mood, your emotions, your physical state, everything. Like just by sitting and thinking about and telling ourselves things with negative self-talk, right? Like that it's like, dang, but that's not good. But on the flip side of it, it's really powerful when you can sit there and think about the positivity and think about having the hope and think about what if this is a blessing in disguise? What is the best case scenario? Like thinking of that, like allowing, I mean, there's physical things that happen to you too when you're in a space of gratitude and going on about that. But when you're in a space of gratitude and having that type of positive dialogue with yourself, right? There's been plenty of benefits to that as well. But yes, thanks for bringing that up. Someone said mindset. Yes, mindset is everything. That's my motto, you all. Sticking to it. Um, but nonetheless, but thanks again. I'm wrapping up today's mental health moment. But thanks again so much. I appreciate you all tuning in, not for me, but for you. to work on how to, again, this is what Mental Health Moment is all about. How do you work on becoming a better version of who you are so you can show up powerfully for yourself and for the people around you? So continue to be amazing. I will be back. Someone said, thank you for normalizing mental health and making it feel approachable. This helps more people than you know. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. It's my whole life, y'all. Mental health advocacy. No, I love it. It's so important. For those of you, some of you I know read my book or whatever, you know my whole journey, but it is so it is so life changing to continue to work on your mindset. This is a lifelong process, you all. It's not an overnight. I wish it's not an overnight thing. It takes time. Be patient with yourself though, because there's a lot of physical and mental benefits of you working on your mindset. Okay, so I'll be back. Thank you. You're welcome. But I'll be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. Be blessed. Have an amazing week. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye, you guys.